Rob, I want to give you some time here to be able to speak, and I'm going to give you some time. You don't have to worry about trying to keep the response brief to a minute or anything like that, but would love to hear. I know you said that you started your business about 8 years ago. You were working a corporate America job and doing six figures there. Kind of tell us a little bit about that transition. What did that look like for you? How did you get into what you're doing? Why did you get into it? Kind of start there for us, and then we'll continue with the conversation.
Absolutely. Dom, if I
And
may.
Yeah, go ahead, Jamar. Jump. Go ahead.
no, I probably was going to ask the same question as Rob, but I just wanted to um, get a little update on Raj. I know he was in here and what he did, and if he was an entrepreneur. So I just wanted to kind of get some feedback from him before starting.
Okay, sure. Yeah, Raj is an entrepreneur. Raj, if you're able to jump up on stage, I'm not sure if you're available this morning to speak, but if you're able to come up, brother, we would love to have you jump in here and kind of share a little bit about. All right, perfect. I see you. All right, let's bring you up here and give you a chance to kind of chime in. Raj, good morning. Always great to have you in the room with us. Go ahead and kind of introduce yourself for the other gentlemen who are not familiar with you, and then we'll let Rob go.
Hi, Dominic. Thank you, firstly, so much for bringing me on stage or inviting me on stage. Um, so, just a little bit about me. I'm Raj Singh and I'm from London, UK. And I'm the founder, director, and head of public relations at my award winning agency, Exclusive PR. And our main ethos is to help independent artists, especially new startups and businesses that actually find it difficult to find online and offline visibility as well as trying to make sales. Now, I've got some clients on my books that are currently from Canada and they are getting visibility on Google. They're being ranked number one and number two positions on page one on Google. They've been on podcast interviews. They've been in the press. So I would like to say publications. And they are now, one of my clients' last sales month was 130,000 in like 1 month. And that's a Canadian dollar. So I'd like to say that he's been working with us for about over a year now, and we've come up with many different social media marketing strategies. We've come out with SEO and web development strategies, and then we've furthered his visibility by getting him onto some amazing podcasters that I've been interviewed by, who I've built relationships with, and now opened up his business in different markets. So he's recently been interviewed by someone in Canada. That interview will be out very, very soon, and he's also getting interviewed by someone from the US, which we are currently scheduling, and from the Philippines. Um, and furthermore, he's going to get more visibility in terms of PR. So we're looking at how we can get him into more publications and how we can do something in his region to make an impact on just day-to-day people that live within within his communities. How we can use that as positive PR and get him out in his local area in Canada. So that's what I do. In a nutshell, I've got other various services. You could check out my Clubhouse bio. I do various different things in terms of I've got I'm dabbing into now the metaverse and AI, Web3, and NFTs. I do run a record label as well, so I've released some music under my own independent label. I'm a music producer, DJ, and a musician myself. And I dab into other things as well. So I've got a lot of other marketing services that I offer. And one of our most popular and primary ones are social media marketing and content creation, because I know that some CEOs and directors don't actually have time to do that. So we create that for them by basically having a core messaging as part of their social media platform. So it's no point having a platform talking about something else which has got nothing to do with your industry. So that's what we do. If you guys got any further questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Raj, thank you so much. I'd love to connect with you. We're actually working on my daughter's first album. So took her in the studio on her 13th birthday, completed a couple tracks that we've gotten good feedback from. Haven't distributed any of it yet, but she's got a huge vision for where she wants to take it and a heart to impact people's lives with her music. So would love to connect with you, man. Love what you're doing.
Sure. I mean, just to give you a bit of context as well, the independent label I have, we actually are offering now additional services as part of that. One of them is the NFTs and the metaverse, because there are opportunities for artists, especially, to make extra income through that. And now I've taken someone on as part of my team not long ago who actually specializes in that field himself. So he will be able to do some consultancies and basically set it all up for you and get it out there. But the record label itself is an independent label for independent artists, and the whole model of the agency and the label is that that we actually give back 100% of income into artists' pockets so that they can reinvest that into the next projects and so forth. Because I think artists that are in the industry, they don't actually understand the business side of it. And what happens is they go to a record label, they get something called a 360 deal, or they get like a deal where they get no return on investment. And then what happens is they're left stuck and they're back where they were, where they've got no revenue to put into the next project. So what we do is we actually give that revenue that comes through the label back to the artist. The only caveat is that you would use exclusive PR to market your brand and your music, and then whatever revenue comes through that through radio streaming, through sales and radio revenue goes back into the artist pockets, and we then give like a quarterly or 6 monthly reports with the sales, and we give you like reports on how your revenue is doing through individual like royalties, and then we also give you an income through the NFTs, of course. So
No,
there is
that's a
like a
cool
lot of
model.
yeah, it's like I mean, I don't think that anyone's thought of it. And the thing is that it's a first digital label as well. So it's the first record label that is digital and is offering 100% of income back to artists. Because I feel that when I was an artist, and I still am an artist, when I was going around to record labels, they were like, "You need to give us the whole project, and we give you this." And I was getting a minute percentage back, which was not going to help me to reinvest. So I think that artists spend a lot of money, and they need to be rewarded for that in return. So we have that model in place to encourage other artists to come and sign to us, and they have a freedom of movement, but we only offer like a distribution deal. So we offer
No,
like a
that's awesome.
do like per project. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of flexibility, because a lot of artists don't have that. So yeah,
Thank
like
you.
just
Thank you for sharing that. No,
no
I love
problem.
the model. That's great.
Welcome.
Jamar, did you want to jump in? I saw you came off the mic.
No, I'm sorry. I'm fine. I'm good.
Okay, cool. Now, Raj, good stuff, man. Thanks for sharing. Love the model. And in business, when we focus on what's best for the customer, right, or the client, I feel like that's where true success comes from. A lot of times people do things just with a focus on revenue or the money or what their company is going to get, right? But when we focus on serving more people, right? Like Zig Ziglar says, if you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want ultimately, right? So it's just a byproduct of serving with the right heart and helping people. So Dom, I'm not gonna. I really, man, Jamar has a phenomenal story. Has built an amazing business. I'm gonna be super brief, but when I was in corporate America, I was working in radio at one of the largest radio companies here in the U.S. and they were in about 16 markets and really loved the people, but felt restricted in decision making and being able to best serve my clients and customers. But prior to that, about maybe 5 years prior, I had sat down and actually wrote out a vision for owning my own marketing company. So the first thing when you're creating a startup is like having a clear vision, right? The clearer the vision, the goals, the objectives, the better you can move, you can operate. So I went back to that original vision and I'm like, this is something that's been on my heart for a long time. And I remember I just started, created as a side hustle. So I got started working a particular business, part of the business that wasn't a conflict to what I was doing currently. Told my current employer, my director of sales, all about it, and he was cool with it. Started working the business, and then I created what I call a good problem. Right? A lot of people see problems as a negative, but it's all in how you look at it. So I created a good problem for myself because it was really getting to the point where I couldn't do both. And I remember going to my wife saying to me, "Hey, honey, I really think you should jump out there and launch your startup, launch your business, and go full time." And so I got on my knees and prayed and talked to God about it. And I heard God say, "Stop trying to delay. The time is now." And there's a lot of people delaying things in life, but if we would just open up to the new, right, it could really take us some places that we never imagined. And that's what it did for me. So I left that job September of 2015 and went out, and man, it was an amazing ride. I mean, even just some of the experiences, like I remember the first week wondering where the revenue was all going to come in. And in one day, I closed more business than my entire month's salary at that previous employer. So I knew I was on to something, and but faced a lot of adversity as well. My second month in business, October 2015, my dad passed away to cancer, and I remember that feeling of like, man, for something like that to happen right after you start, you go full time, got a family to provide for, have team members to take care of. I had to overcome that feeling and that challenge and continue and, build a successful business. And we were growing 30 to 40% year over year, and have been extremely blessed. So, but most importantly, been able to serve a lot of small businesses. Like Jamaar said, he helps businesses stay in business longer, and it's been a joy to be able to do that. So that's just a little bit about my story and how I got started.
Wow, that is incredible. That is remarkable. Man, Rob, and what I appreciate, excuse me, about what you said is that, like you said, you don't look at bad things or bad situations what the average person would call bad. Hey, this is a bad problem and all those sorts of things. The attitude, the mindset that you have behind it, it makes a big difference, a huge difference when we are talking about building our businesses. And I feel as though for a lot of entrepreneurs, especially the startups, this is where the battle is won, because when you started your business you could have had a different attitude, especially that second month around, like you were explaining. You could have had a completely different mindset, a different attitude about it, and said, hey, you know what, this isn't going to work. It's less stressful, it's less headache. I don't have as many people to be responsible for. I don't have as many responsibilities if I'm just working a job for somebody else. And you could have backed out. You could have turned around and did something different, right? But you didn't. There was something for you that made you push through those, what the average person would call bad times. So, Rob, for you, what is it? What is that thing that keeps you going? Like when those times come, because we're all going to face them. When the challenges come, the obstacles come, what is it that keeps you going forward?
Great question. Wow. Well, first, it's my faith, Dominique. And, I don't know what everybody on here believes, but um, I didn't grow up in a specific religion, but my faith in Jesus Christ and my relationship with God really is the foundation. So I just, I'm just a very authentic and transparent guy. So I gotta put it all out there. Um, in addition to that, it really does go back to that vision, right? Having a clear vision for your business and where you want to go. Because I had a very clear vision early on, and a lot of people say your why, right? Like it's your why, and yes, that's part of it. But I like another side of the philosophy where I heard, I believe it's the guy who they call him like Mr. Triathlon. Like I think he's called. You got to look this guy up. Iron Cowboy. He's run like 100 straight triathlons like in 100 days. It was crazy. Like nobody believed that the human body could actually do this. And I remember, I think it was him that said, you got to have a bag of reasons. So you got to have a bag of whys, not just one why. Because when your father passes away, your second month in business, like I really thought about throwing in the towel, going back to corporate America, like, and, not having as much responsibility or as much risk. But my bag of reasons, right? It was a big enough bag of reasons. I had multiple whys that kept me going even when I faced that adversity. And there's been times where even after that I thought about, throwing in the towel, quitting, even on the upward trajectory of business, even when it's growing and things seem successful. Um, life will hit you sometimes, but like we talked about early on in the conversation, if you guys are now just tuned into this, you want to go back and listen to the beginning, you got to know how to pivot. You got to know how to adjust. You got to know how to evolve so that you can stay on that forward and upward trajectory in life and in your business, and to have a holistic, healthy business, healthy life, physically, mentally, emotionally, relationally. So for me, I'd say it was the bag of reasons. It was the vision. It was having multiple whys that kept me going and enabled me to push through. And like you said, not back out when things got tough.
Rob, I'm going to tell you, man, I've never heard that before, but I so appreciate it because it makes sense to me. In 2015, my wife of 9 years left our home, filed for divorce, and at that point, everything turned for me. Everything changed. Everything about my life, my world, everything was flipped on its head in a moment's notice. And before I knew it, I found myself in a very heated custody battle with my ex-wife. And there was a point in there where I wasn't able to see my children. I have two amazing kids. I wasn't able to see my children for a period of 9 months. I didn't have my wife anymore because she left, and everything everything changed. Like, that's the simplest way I can say it. And so in that moment, I realized, much like what you're saying, if my why was my kids, now they're gone. If my why was my wife, now
Wow.
she's gone. If those were the reasons why I was waking up every morning and doing what it was that I did, then I could see where people start to have suicidal ideations, because now everything's been taken from you. So when everything falls apart around you, if you don't have enough whys in your bag, then you're going to fall apart with it. And I so appreciate what you said there, because, yeah, I would agree. You need to have more whys in your bag. You need to have more things that's compelling you and drawing you and attracting you to the person that you're trying to be, to fulfilling the purpose that you're called to fulfill. Because if you're banking on this one thing, what happens if you lose it? God forbid you ever lose it, because then that means your whole world comes crumbling down, and you can't let that happen. Rob, I really appreciate you sharing that. Thank you so much. I want to give Jamar a chance to jump in here as well and share a couple of things that he's experienced. I know you had said, Jamar, that you had started entrepreneurship at 14, at the ripe age of 14. That's the age that everybody's supposed to become an entrepreneur, by the way. But when that doesn't work out, then we kind of fall back on 50 years old or something like that. But Jamar, kind of walk us through your background, your history, and
No,
kind of set us up.
I think that would be good, but I just really wanted to kind of, slow down because as both of you were talking, it really made me look at some things a little different. Right now, you know, FMS is doing extremely well. It's kicking butt. But as you guys were talking, um, I think I'm a big vision, mission, core values guy. And so as you guys were talking, I heard something else that for my company would be so crucial is like we live and breathe off of our core values. So we have 5 core values at FMS. One of those is customer satisfaction. We want to make sure our customers are pleased. Then we have one that's called speed, making sure that things are done quick, on time, great pace. Another was product knowledge. 4 is excellence. Do everything right the first time. You don't have to go back and do it again. And then we added one recently, because in the merchant service and credit card processing industry can be so negative. We added, be positive. And so those are the core values that we lead with. And those are the things that keep us going. It's what drives the team together. It's what drives unity within the organization. But as you guys were talking, I, for the first time, said, I think we need whys because our business has done so well. We necessarily haven't had any setbacks, and I always, remember a good friend would always say, there's always going to be a storm, right? And so I think in business we don't necessarily start out with thinking that there's a storm with our name on it, and not that we're negative, but that we're looking ahead. My mentor Brian Tracy uses something called WPOs, and that's what's the worst possible outcome of this. And you know, but as you guys were both speaking, I was like, developing the why in business, I think is so vitally important, and really spending days just chewing on what that is, because when something comes up, it's almost like you need that why. It's your fortitude to move forward. And so I've never, until you guys said something, I never really thought of that. And even as you guys were talking now, like, I wanted to even challenge you and even, someone to call in. I mean, you can put things in the chat, but what is your why now? And Dominic, to your point, you know, it's almost like that why also needs to intersect with your vision and with the company's vision, as well, because when you hit those stuck places and when you feel like quitting or when you feel like stopping, those whys are crucial in you making decision to, hey, do I want to sell this company for $17 million, or do I not sell it? um so very interesting things, and I would like to kind of just piggyback on you guys just to see, what are some of those whys now. Um, one of the datas with the group of guys that I'm with is, they state that once a business owner gets over 40, if he's got $1 million company, and then he decides to sell that company, um, that the divorce rate goes to about 80%, because they get a whole bunch of money. He gets tired. He doesn't know what he's doing. The wife's like, well, I really didn't care anyway. I just wanted the money. And I mean, so many different things. I'm not trying to go off on a tangent, but I think a lot of people even sell because they don't have that defined why. And as you guys were talking, I just heard something on it. And so I just wanted to kind of like sit back a little bit, especially if you have, listeners on. Sometimes you move so fast when you're trying to teach and trying to go over, how to, create a business or how to start it. But I think we need to sit here a little bit and just dissect this and chew on this. And so, what were some of the whys when you started? Was it, I wanted to prove somebody wrong? Was that a bad motive? Or I heard that, I need to be an entrepreneur, I need to be a business leader. And I think that's been a really bad message that's got spread, because everyone's not a business owner and everyone's not supposed to start their own business. You have those that are to come and undergird and help someone else's vision, and then be a beneficiary of that. And so my question for you guys is, what are some of the whys now? Um, and hopefully your mind is thinking. But what are some of your whys now? And I guess Rob, Dominic, if we can pick on you. I know Rod, you're in the room as well. But what are those whys?
Yeah, I'll jump in there, Jamar, and just so you know, I know you're new here on the app. The mute and unmute, we usually mute whenever somebody else is speaking just to kind of clear up the background noise. But my why, when I started off, it was just like everybody else, right? I just wanted to, for one, I wanted the money because everybody was saying that, hey, you're gonna be broke. You're just gonna be broke working a job. The only way you're going to make real money is to have your own. And so I said, okay, well, then I want to have my own, because if I have the money, then I could buy a house, I could buy the cars, I could do the vacations, I could do all of those things, right? So that was my why. A lot of it was my why. I wanted to make my wife at that time, I wanted to make her proud. I wanted her to be able to say, hey, that's my husband, and all those sorts of things. I wanted my children to be able to have the nicer things, the nicer toys, and all of that. And so those were my whys, right? In the beginning, as as all of that fell apart for me, as I explained earlier, and I found myself sitting in a house, in an empty house by myself, my back against the wall, sitting on the floor, tears rolling down my face, and I'm trying to pick the pieces back up. I really started doing some soul searching, some introspective work. I realized that my life had been spent trying to please others. And while I understand the social philosophy of happy wife, happy life stuff, I learned in that moment that's not true. There's nothing wrong with making your wife happy. There's nothing wrong with trying to please your wife and all those things. but you need to please yourself. You need to make yourself happy. There needs to be a balance, and I wasn't doing that. There was nothing for me in any of it. It was always about them. And so I started to see, okay, what is it that Dominique likes to do? What makes Dominique happy? What pleases Dominique? What are the fun things Dominique enjoys doing? And I started to learn myself. I had the idea of prove people wrong, but in reality, Jamar, for me, my story is a little bit different. I realized as I was doing this self search, if you will, or this self exploration and just really discovering Dominique, I realized that I didn't really have a bunch of haters behind me. That's not my story. I don't come from the story of everybody doubted you. Honestly, I would be considered if I made $1 million next week. I'm telling you right now, Jamar, nobody would be surprised. Like I'm that guy. So I changed my philosophy from prove them wrong to prove them right. And I started to say, I need to prove these people right. These people who believe in me, all these people who support me, all these people who know I have the potential. If anybody has the skills to be a millionaire, it's Dominique. If anybody has the skills to build a large business, it's Dominique. If anybody knows how to network and connect and talk with people, it's Dominique. So for him to make $1 million, that's pretty much just the expectation. That's like the minimum expectation because that's just the kind of guy I see him to be. And so I started to change my philosophy around prove them right. Then I still have my children, like they're still alive, they're still a part of my life in a very different way now. But I still want to, so when we talk about my wives, I still want to be able to provide certain things for them and give them certain experiences and give them certain exposures in life that I didn't have when I was a child that I feel will serve them well as they get older. I still have the dream right now. I don't live in a home with my whole situation with the divorce and everything. It I ended up being evicted from my home, couldn't make the mortgage payments, and so it really set me off. It really tripped me up, paying a lot of money in attorney fees and court costs and all those things. It really it takes a toll on you. But nonetheless, another thing that ended up happening as a result of all that is you get hit with child support, and I fell behind on some child support payments and ruined my credit. So I got a lot of things going on there personally. So for me, I'm wanting to get the home because I'm not in a home right now. And for me, that would, when I say in a home, I'm not in my own home. I live in a townhouse. I'm renting a townhouse. But for me, owning my own home, it's going to be significant, right? That's going to mean something to me. It's going to be a milestone for me, but it's also going to be something for my children that they can look at and they can say, wow, you know what? Daddy picked himself up. Daddy got it together. Daddy fixed it. Daddy turned it around. He took a bad situation and made it good. And he kept moving forward. He didn't let that stop him. So I want that for them. I also want them to have the space, the yard, and all those things they can call their own. I want that for my children. I want the vacations, just to be able to travel. We take vacations now, but they're like 1 day, 2 day vacations because that's what my budget allows for. But I want to be able to take them places where we can go there for 3, 4, 5 days and kind of hang out and take in more. And then the last thing, Jamar, and I'll turn it over to either Raj or Rob. I tell you what, I'll go to Raj and then we'll go to Rob. But the last thing for me, Jamar, that I'll say here is that when I look at my why, I've realized, and this is for me, I can't speak for anybody else. I realized for Dominique, the reason why I do what I do is because it's who I am. Really and truly at my core, like you said earlier, entrepreneurship isn't for everybody. Business ownership isn't for everybody. That's so true. I completely agree with that. But for me, because it's who I am at the core, even if I lose this business, so I own EPW, even if I lose EPW tomorrow, I'm going to find another business to start because I'm not an employee. I'm not a W-2 wage earner. I'm going to go out, I'm going to find a business, I'm going to build a business, I'm going to start a business, I'm going to do those things because at the end of the day, it's just who I am. Lions hunt, you know what I'm saying? So I'm an entrepreneur. So at the end of the day, I'm going to build a business somewhere, somehow, and I'm going to figure out a way to grow that thing and make it successful and make it work. But those are my responses. I want to give Raj a chance. I know you kind of asked everybody here on the stage, so I want to give Raj a chance to jump in. Tell us what it's like in the UK, man, to have a why. What are your whys? What's your bag of whys, like Rob was talking about? And then we'll let Rob jump in and kind of share, and then we'll circle back to you, Jamar, and see if that makes sense to you. So, Raj, I'm gonna yield the mic over to you.
Thank you, Dominic. This is a pretty good question, actually. Why did I start exclusive PR? So there are um, many different reasons for this, but the two primary reasons I can think of is what happened to me and my family in the 1990s here in the UK. So I'm not sure if it was prominent in the US at the time, but we hit a really, really bad economy wise. So we were really hit pretty badly. So 1990 was really bad where everybody lost their livelihoods, they lost their jobs, they lost their incomes, they lost their homes. So for me, it was a couple of things was like, if I am going to start a business, I want to have that. First thing I had in my mind was security because my father is a Indian descendant. So he comes from North India, Punjab. My mom's from East Africa and Tanzania, Mushi. So my parents have, I would like to say, worked their ass off to get us to the point where we were in the 90s. And then things were kind of like taken out of my father's control because it was a massive ripple effect that happened. So my father, although he gave us the financial security, he gave us the best life he possibly could. What he couldn't stop was Margaret Thatcher at the time was our prime minister, going to the Falklands War, losing and putting that debt onto the country, which then affected people in the private sector. Now, my father was earning a very, very good salary, and he was basically bringing home some amazing stuff for us at Christmas. You know, my dad had 3 to 4 cars. You know, my dad was like, in those days was pretty wealthy. So when he lost his job, he was one of the first in our family from the private sector to lose his job. It became like a ripple effect that actually affected our whole life. So I was in my teens at the time, I was very young. And what happened was my father lost his home and we were on the street. We didn't know where our next roof was going to come from. We didn't know where we were going to eat our next meal from. So things were getting from back to west. My father being my father, he was really resilient. And he had something that I wanted all the time, and that was perseverance, and never give up, and always look at the positive in a bad situation. So what he did was he got us into temporary accommodation. 15 years later, I'm in the home that I'm in now, and we are successfully progressing as a family. You know, we're in a much better place now. And then my thing was that we are not going to lose this home again. What happened to us in the 90s? So what I did was, although I was working in 2008 and I lost my job and I was made redundant because the Lehman Brothers crashed and the second recession was coming and the economy was in turmoil again. I was like, I've got to do something. So in 2012, Exclusive PR was born. And the reason why I launched Exclusive PR was that I felt that independent artists weren't getting promoted properly. PR companies or record labels were taking money from artists that were naive. They were promoting them, doing shit campaigns, and then artists were losing their money and they weren't releasing any future products. Hence my record label model and hence my birth of Exclusive PR. But as that went forward, I then started opening up to different markets and started helping businesses that were struggling, not just independent artists, but businesses. Now, as we all know, the UK and the world economies were in lockdown for about a good 2 years. During those lockdowns, I actually helped businesses, right, to sustain themselves and to basically keep themselves in front of mind of people without even charging a penny. The reason why I did that was because it took me back to 1990 when I lost my home. And I knew what it felt like losing your whole livelihood. So what I didn't want these people to do was lose their livelihoods. So I helped a lot of people with their social media and I advised and guidance, and I did it absolutely free at no extra cost. What that gave me in return was fulfillment because these people went on to basically give me good reputation. They went on to progress themselves. Now they are making great money. Some of them have got so many followers now on Instagram. It's absolutely crazy. But my whole why was one, to have security, and one was to help people, not just businesses and artists, but people, because people are the ones that run businesses. Now, people's mental health gets affected when something's not going right. They struggle. This is where I come in and I help them mentally, physically, and I help them to actually have a plan where we can help them sustain themselves. And I think that we all sometimes think there's too much competition out there when there isn't. My father taught me one thing, and when we were losing our home, he said one thing to us. Never ever give up. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. And my dad's saying is, what is the saying again? He goes, slow and steady wins the race, right? What that means is that if you run 1,000 miles an hour, you're going to fall at 1,000 miles an hour. The faster you rise, the faster you fall. The slower you go up that hill, the slower you're going to come down. And that decline may not even happen because you've already sustained yourself. So I personally feel that my biggest inspiration and my biggest why was my father because he gave me what I am today, and he's instilled the mental strength and the mental way to helping people. Because my father he loves to help people as well. He does a lot of stuff in India right now. He sponsored children, he sponsored families. My father is one person. He's a giving person, and my community. I'm a Punjabi Sikh. Our community gives anyway. But I wanted to give from my perspective, coming from a different angle, from my experiences, what I've been through, and as general rule of thumb, what life is about. And life is about helping people, whether it's through business or whether it's in personal. But sometimes people add a value to that, and that is financial value, which I don't like. I've given so many people consultancy for free, of $500 to $600 a pop, but I don't want money for it. I want people to go away and think, okay, I got value out of that. And I like to give people value, and I like to give people how can I say, a peace of mind more than anything. So that is my why. Hope I answered your questions, guys. I'm open to any questions. Thank you.
Perfect, perfect, Raj. Thank you so much. Yeah, Rob, go ahead.
Wow. I just want to say, Raj, that really blessed my life, man, because just hearing the impact that your father had on you, and this is coming from someone who I didn't really have my father present in my life most of my life, but it just reestablishes and reaffirms the importance that I have in my daughter's life, and that I have to continue to be that person that God's created me to be for her, to help instill, like you mentioned, some of the things like mental strength, his resiliency, the way that he gave back or that he gave to people. That's what I want to be for her. So thank you for sharing that story, man. That's amazing. Your dad seems like a really, really great guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, go ahead, Jamar. Were you about to jump in there?
No, I really just, love the vulnerability that, came on the call. I thought it was just, amazing. And Rod, you have a, amazing story. And, a lot of those things, you know, wrong home to me, as a business owner. I've know, part of Rob's story, um, you know, homeless as well. Um, I experienced that, as well. And so it's your resilience. I've lost houses, repossession. And I think, you know, what makes a good business owner and a good entrepreneur is just that willingness just not to quit. Regardless of what's going on, you just don't quit. And so last year we did like a market analysis, and uh, our company will do about 5 million this year. And when we did the market analysis of how much market shares we had less than 1% market share. And everyone was running around talking about, the economy, the market's going to crash. Well, I'm like, well, if it crashed, and I only got one market share, like, the entire market ain't gonna fall. So it's still so much opportunity left. And so if there's anything I could probably leave the call with is sometimes when you are only looking at your view and you've allowed the information from the economy and the world to speak so much louder that you don't even realize there's so much opportunity. And you hear that with Roger's story. It's opportunity. And so right now you have AI coming, artificial intelligence, then you got AGI right in back of that. And they're talking that, the world will be worse than the Great Depression, that a third of people will lose jobs. And so, yeah, that may be true, but for you, it's opportunity. And so, I just want to, I guess leave off encouraging. I know Randy just jumped on, and was it Blakely? There's just opportunity, and so it's what are you going to do to go get it? And then one of the things I think I heard from you, Dominic, Rob, and Raj is that when that why is bigger than you, that why is that, I want to help somebody else. I want to see someone else off. And, for Raj, ours was, I got a pretty similar story with him, um, as it related to, business owners and wanting to help them. And I don't need, you don't got to charge me a penny to come talk. You don't got to, charge me anything. And so a lot of the guys that, are in my circle, we're having this big company event in December, got a CEO who made over $100 million with his company and would not charge me a penny to come and speak at our event. And so I think that you have to ask yourself when starting, what is my why? And what I'm doing, would I do this for free? And I think if you can ask yourself those questions, and even if you're in business now and you can't answer those questions, then you're not doing what you're supposed to do. If you would not do what you're doing for free, then it ain't what you designed to do. Because there's a passion that comes with what you do. Like there is I can't sleep past 8 o'clock. I love doing this. And so I just would leave with that. It's opportunity, know your why, and that's it for me.
Yeah, that's real good, Jamar. I'm with you, man. I can't sleep past 8 o'clock either. That's just not going to happen. Usually seven. So when I sleep in to seven, and then I'm up. I gotta get going. Not because I'm a workaholic, but because I'm so passionate. I love what I do. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy the people that I do it for. It makes a big difference. Like we're talking about, like this. It is my why. Like it fulfills me. Rob, I know you didn't get a chance to jump in yet and share, so we would love to hear your why as well. Or your bag of whys if you have several of them.
Well, I'll just say this as we're getting to the close here. I'm really full from this conversation. Man, I think this was more good for me than it was for you guys. But I'm a very, again, transparent guy. So really, this conversation has helped me, Dominique, reevaluate my whys. Right, that bag of reasons. Because when I started out, it was simply to better serve my clients in my particular industry. It was to create more freedom for me and my family. I used to hate putting in PTO time. If you guys work a 9 to 5, you know what that is, paid time off. That was one of my biggest pet peeves, man. I was like, why do I have to request time off if I'm hitting my numbers to spend time with my daughter? And so that freedom was really key for me in making that jump to entrepreneurship, and then also just creating another level of wealth for my family, but not just for me, but so that other people get the overflow. I like Raj said, his dad is a giver. I believe that I'm a giver. It's not just something I do, it's a part of who I am. So I love to give, and when you have more, you can do more, right? And so those are some of the things that initially started out as my bag of reasons and my bag of whys. But now this conversation and what Jamar had is helping me to reevaluate, like, what are my whys now? And some of those things that you initially started out with may still be one of your reasons. But Dominique, like you said, your situation changed a little bit. But for others, one or two of those things may still be one of my whys. But it's like, what else, right? because we got to add to that so that that passion and that drive becomes even stronger to wake up and do what we do every day. So like when Jamar mentioned, when the storm comes or the adversity comes, which I've experienced a lot of these last few years, we're solidified, we're established, we remain steady. Like Raj talked about that slow and steady piece. So for me, this conversation, some of those things are still my why. I want to continue to serve people, help businesses to grow. I still want to continue to have that freedom for me and my family as it relates to our time and the things that we can do. I still want to be able to give back, and to give to others. But now I'm like, this conversation, I got to go deeper. What else? What are the other whys that are driving me today to keep going?
I love that. I really love the part about the giving back. That's something that for me, once again, as a result of my entire world changing and flipping, I started to look at that a little differently. And I want to be able to give back and give to more and help more people and not be so focused on myself and what I'm trying to do for me and what I'm trying to achieve and gain and all those things. I want to be able to give more. And as I thought more about the idea of giving more, something that you said, Rob, about the PTO, or excuse me, not the PTO. The PTO is what made me think about it, but overtime. So in a on a job, when you're working a regular job, if you want to give more to a cause, then you're either gonna have to sacrifice your current lifestyle, or you're gonna have to put in overtime in order for you to make extra money. Like that's basically it. Those are your only two options. Whereas as an entrepreneur, I have so many options to be able to give more back to others. I have so many ways to be able to earn income or earn money that can be used to drill wells for people in villages that don't have access to clean water. I have so many ways as an entrepreneur to get money that can rescue children from human trafficking, for example. I have so many ways to be able to do these things and tap into the resources to be able to give to others, to be able to give back and help others. And I really appreciate that about being an entrepreneur. I mean, it's so many things, man. It's so powerful. But definitely appreciate those shares. I want to just remind everybody real quick that, oh, go ahead, Jamar. You had something you wanted to say?
No, I just wanted to say one thing before everyone jumped off. I think Raj has said it, and I think it's very, very important, that we don't miss something that he said. It was extremely strong. But one of the things that you see is like if I'm sitting in a room with, other millionaires in there, sometimes you can fall into a danger of comparison, and you can you can see one business go from, you know let's say 10 million to 30 million, and you're like, man, I need to scale up. I need to be where they are. And I think that's very dangerous. And we have fallen victim to it. But and the reason it is you can be sitting in there with a contractor, who a project may cost $4 or $5 million, 10, $15 million. Well, they just throw that in their gross income, but it's not their net revenue. And so you can hear a guy come out and say he made $30 million, but he taking home $500,000. And so it's always little all other small details you have to be super careful with in establishing a business, and be careful not to compare, because you don't know if this person has $1 million in debt. So, but one of the things that Rod said is, talked about, he gave the analysis of going up the hill. And so one of the good reader, Patrick Lencioni, he talks about, a book called The Advantage. I was talking about being healthy as you grow your business. And so having that organic, healthy growth where it's not so fast, because when you are moving so fast, what happens is you do fall really fast, and so that nice, steady, slow growth over time, taking your time, looking at some of the things you've done wrong last year. I think, obviously it's a good time going into Q4. What are some of those things that I did this year that I don't want to do next year? Or what are some of the pitfalls that I had this year that I don't want to move into? And just like Rob said earlier, there have been, and I think the foundations of a great business owner or leader is that their listening skills are great. And so I feel like whoever's in the room, you can always hear something and learn. And to Rob's point, I actually learned some stuff just in this call, just because sometimes when you're in a room with other successful people, um, they that some of the wisdom that comes from them and the experiences has the ability of just like jumping on you. And so just wanted to make sure you don't compare. Realize this opportunity just to kind of like recap. Just take your time.
That's good, Jamar. Thank you so much for sharing that. Listen, guys, we do this every Saturday morning. Now, pay close attention to this part here because this is very important. As we all know, Clubhouse has recently made some changes, a lot of significant changes on the app. One of the changes, and I want you to really lean in here, one of the changes that they made is not a hard change, it's more of a soft change. And I'm not even so sure it's actually a change. It's possible that this was always running in the background, but we just were not aware. Clubhouse, and you could go into the town hall meetings and verify this for yourself. Clubhouse is an audio messaging app. What that means is it's not a social media platform like what I and many other people thought. Now, a lot of us were running around using the app that way in the past, and it served us well. But with a lot of the changes that we see on the app now, we're seeing more and more where Clubhouse, the app, is aligning with that model of being an audio messaging app. What that means for me as an entrepreneur, as a creator, it may mean something different for you, but what that means for me is that this is not the place to grow an audience and to build a business. This is a place to connect with people, hang out with people. I would liken it to a Zoom experience, something like what you would experience on Zoom. That's what this is, but in an audio format instead of the video format. It's a very different place. It feels a little different, not a little, a lot different. I'm saying all this to you guys because we need to connect off the app. In just a moment, I'm going to let Rob and Jamar tell you how you can connect with them off the app. I'm going to let Raj tell you how you can connect with him off the app. But we need to connect off of this app because uh, I'm looking at some things and I don't want you to miss any changes that we need to make as a community. Clubhouse made the changes they felt they needed to make, and that's perfectly fine. 100% respect it. Wish them all the best. I got a lot from Clubhouse, learned a lot on Clubhouse, respect the leadership here and all those things. But at the end of the day, I need to make the decision that's going to be best for the community, for the Emixer community at large. And I want to make sure that you guys are not missing out on that. I want to make sure that you connect with me. One of the best places you can connect with me is on Instagram. If you tap my profile, you'll see my Instagram link there, and you can connect with me on Instagram. Um, I'll also, let's see, I'll put my handle in the chat as well. That way, for anybody who perhaps is having issues seeing it on my profile, then you'll be able to see it in the chat. But let's stay connected. You'll see the link at the top of the room. That's another great way for us to stay connected. There inside of the office is where we have our eMixer community coming in on a daily basis. It's how we're holding each other accountable for reaching those goals and those dreams. When we talked earlier about the why, we're going to continue that conversation inside of the office. But also inside of the office, it's a great place for us to be able to connect with each other, do business together, make referrals, all of those things. When I think about the freedom, the time freedom, the financial freedom, when I think about those things, I ask myself, how am I going to realistically get there? It's one thing to have this big pie in the sky dream kind of experience, and maybe one day I hope to. That'd be great if, and all of those things. But I need to have a real plan, and one of the things to that plan, or one of the parts of that plan, is by connecting with others. And as we're all holding each other accountable and we're all pushing each other to achieve our goals and to complete those tasks on a daily basis and to reach our dreams, then I know that I'm going to reach everything that I'm desiring to reach in life, for me, for my children. And so I want you to be a part of that. I want you to come join me on this journey. Tap that link above. It costs you nothing to come inside and be a part of the office with us. We would love to have you be there. We would love to see you in the community. We would love to be able to help you to win any way that we can. I'll share this real quick, and then I'll let Rob and Jamar and Raj share how you can connect with them off the app, and then we'll wrap up the room. But let me share this real quick with you. There inside of the office, there's one particular member who needed homeowner insurance, and this was just last week, guys. This last week happened. He needed homeowner insurance. I was talking with him about it, and I remembered that there was another gentleman inside of the office who actually is an insurance agent. I was able to connect the two of them together, and the insurance agent was able to save the other member money on his homeowner insurance. So now he's putting money back in his pocket. And at the same time, the insurance agent closed the sale and he's able to get paid his commission off of that sale. It's a win-win for everybody. But these are the types of deals we're looking for inside of the office. We're looking for those connections. We're looking for those referrals. We're looking for that close of business that's happening, and we want to be able to create that kind of an environment. Tap that link above. We would love to see you in there. Like I said, it'll cost you nothing to come in, hang out with us. When you come in, say hello. We'll all welcome you. But let's go to Rob, give him a chance to share his contact and any closing thoughts you may have as well, Rob. That would be great. But definitely let us know how we can connect with you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Dominique. You guys can hit my profile photo. Instagram is the best place to connect with me. Also, LinkedIn. Obviously, a lot of you guys are business professionals, would love to connect there as well. So if you do that now, follow. I'll definitely follow you guys back. We can stay connected. And I'll just close with this thought. In life and business, it's all about relationship, Dominique. That's really what I'm hearing you say. And one of the things that I say to my team, or to my team a lot, that I would say is relationships over transactions. So we put the relationship before the transaction. You establish a connection, you establish a rapport, you really express genuine consent, care and concern for a person's business or for their life. Um, it's going to help. They're going to want to do business with you longer. And people ultimately buy you before they buy your product or service. So I think it's really important that we continue to network, establish relationships, and keep that at the forefront.
Very well said. Couldn't argue a single word of that. Perfect. Thank you so much, Rob. I did give you a follow there on IG. Definitely appreciate that. We're going to stay connected. Let's go over to Jamar, give him a chance to share any closing thoughts that he may have for the room, and then as well as how do we connect with you off of the app? Go ahead, Jamar.
No, that's great. I just wanted to see if there was anyone that had any. I don't, I'm not familiar with this platform, Dominique, but if anyone had any questions or business questions, I don't know if they wanted to shoot something in the chat. That way we could answer them if you need it. But I just, would like to be able, if anyone had any questions or, hey, I'm dealing with this in business, what ideas or solutions would you guys recommend for that? Just like to open it up for that. I'm an old school guy. I think I met Rob. Well, I've known Rob for over 20 years, but I think it took me about 6 years to get to email. Um, so I don't think I started using email until 2008. So I put my email address in there if anybody needs me, but not a big social media guy. Do a lot of just, just the timing. I did have LinkedIn remove that, and that was for purposes of, as I started looking at our competitors and I found myself comparing. So anything that's kind of been a distraction for me, I try to eliminate it as quick as possible. So best contact is email. So you can email me if you have any questions. But anything right now, if you need answered, I work with over 2,000 businesses, and so kind of seen almost everything. Um, well, probably not everything, but a good amount of everything. So if you have any questions or questions about business, just put something in the message and I'll respond. But that's it.
Excellent, excellent. Yes, if anybody in the audience has a question, feel free to raise your hand before we wrap up this morning. I want to give you a chance to jump up here, ask your question, or you can drop it in the chat if you're not in a position to come up on stage and speak. Put it in the chat. That way we'll be able to see it and we'll be able to answer it here from the stage for you. Anything that you may be experiencing, any challenges or just questions, just needing some direction, anything like that, you can feel free to ask and then we'll make sure to give you an answer before we head out this morning. Raj, I have you on stage as well. Would love to give you an opportunity to share how we can connect with you off of this app, and then any closing thoughts that you may have for the room as well. And Jamar, it looks like you still have a hot mic. All right, perfect. Thank you. All right, Raj, let's go over to you.
Thank you, Dominic. It's been a very interesting room, guys. Rob, Jamar, it's been nice to meet you both. Dominic, I just want to say that my closing thoughts, like before I share where people can find me, is that just remember one thing. Do you want to work in your business or do you want to work on your business? Because a lot of people don't know the difference and they start working in the business and they lose focus of the business direction. So just have that food for thought. And where you can find me is you can find me on Instagram at Exclusive PR UK. You can find me on Facebook at Exclusive PR. You can find me on LinkedIn at Raj Singh. And you can also check out my website, and some of my other socials are on there as well. So if anybody has any questions, you want to book a free consultation, you could do that via my website. And also, while you're there, I just want to say I've got a free Instagram guide that shows you how to grow your Instagram account to 10,000 followers without spending a penny on ads. Although the metric numbers don't matter, sometimes numbers do count towards when customers look at your profile. So it's just for visibility. So if that's something you're interested in, do hit me up on either of those platforms. And I hope we can work together, collaborate, or partner up together. Speak soon, Dominic, Rob, Jamar. It's been an absolute honor. Thank you, guys.
It has been an honor. Go ahead, Rob.
No, I just wanted to say thank you, Raj. It's been a pleasure.
Excellent. Yes, it's been an honor to be with all three of you gentlemen this morning and all those in the listening audience and those on the replay. Thank you so much. Make sure you stay close. There will be some changes coming in the very near future. Make sure you stay close, stay connected, because I don't want you to miss out on any of those changes, any of those pivots, if you will, or turns. I actually have a book that I'm reading now. It's called Turns, and he just talks about the different turns that we can make in our lives that completely change the trajectory of our lives. But make sure you stay close, stay connected, guys. We're going to be back here next Saturday. Next Saturday, we'll be back here. It's going to be at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, 8 a.m. Central Standard, 9 a.m. Eastern. We'll be back here live again on next week. We'll have another guest speaker joining us on next week here inside of the Emixer house. If you haven't already done so, tap that link above. Come hang out with us there in the office. We're going to continue the conversation about our why. Why do we do what we do? Why do we wake up and have that passion in the morning? And if you're not sure what your why is, then let's have that conversation as well. Let's help you to tap into that, because you're going to need it. Rough times are coming, hopefully later than sooner, but they are coming. And when they come, we need you to still be in the game. So make sure you tap into that, be a part of the community. We would love to have you there. Guys, I want you to have a great rest of the weekend. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Until we meet again on next Saturday, take care and God bless. Bye now.